Welcome to Chiropad TV. This is Dr. Paul Bindell, President of Life Systems Software. It is with great pleasure that we provide you with this segment of our video training series for the ChiroSuite program. This presentation will show you how to enter a new patient in the ChiroSuite system. Once you are on the front desk screen, in order to enter a new patient, you simply click on the green starburst. That opens the new patient screen. The first thing you want to do is be sure that the status is active. The chart number will automatically be generated by the system unless you click on the drop-down arrow and select Custom, in which case you would be able to continue using whatever charting system and chart numbers you prefer to choose. If this patient is the only member of the family or the head of the household, then you would leave a check in the box. If this is a spouse or a child or a parent of the head of household, you can uncheck this box, come to the little square with the ellipsis in it at the far right, select who the other patient is that is responsible for this patient's account, and when you save it, that head of household's name will appear in this area. What this means is that when you send out bills at the end of the month to the patients, the bill can be generated to the head of household instead of to the child or spouse or other individual that is not primarily covered. In the catalogs, you set up an account type. For this patient, you would select the account type that this applies to, and you would also select who is the doctor that is responsible for this patient primarily. The date admitted is going to be the first date on which you see the patient. If you are entering this information on the date that the patient initially comes in, then today's date is automatically present. However, if you are getting caught up with entries from a past date, you can either click into the space and change the date yourself, or you can double-click on the date field, and that will bring up a calendar, and you can then select the date on which the patient came into your office. If you use X-ray numbers, you should enter it here. The source of the patient's referral is important for statistics so that you know what is working to bring new patients into your office. If you select patient and then go to the far end of the line, you can click on the ellipsis again, and that gives you access to bring up the other patients that are within the system and choose the one that is right for this patient. If it is something other than a patient that referred the patient to you, you are able to make the selection accordingly. If it is an attorney, then that attorney can be selected from the attorney catalog, and it becomes very easy to enter that information. It is important to enter a title for the patient so that personalized letters and reports will show the patient's name correctly. You would then enter their first name, middle initial, last name, suffix if there is one, and a nickname if you choose to. The primary address is the main address line. If the information is too large to fit all on one line, you would then be able to enter it on the secondary address line as well. City, state, and zip code are self-explanatory, and in this age of identity theft, where people are no longer freely giving their social security numbers, we strongly suggest that you get their driver's license number so that you can track them down if you need to. Date of birth and sex are standard bits of information. The referrals button that is here, when you would click on that, it will give you a list of all the patients that this patient has referred into your office. With a new patient, obviously, it's going to be blank. But if you've had this patient for a couple of years, you would hopefully have a long list of people here. What is their marital status? Their social security number if they choose to give it to you. Home, work, cell, and fax phone numbers. And you should also get their email address. Once you have the email address, you would be able to click on the patient button and then select Send Email, and the system would automatically bring up the email program that you have in your computer and generate the email that you want. Once you are in your email program, you would be able to build a distribution list so that you would be able to do mass mailings to your patients. Once all the information has been entered in the patient's personal screen, and you have saved that information, you then have access to all the other areas for the patient's account. In the financial screen, you would be able to modify the credit limits so that if this were a self-paying cash patient, you would want to set the patient credit limit comparatively low. If at the opposite extreme, this was a personal injury case where you told the patient you will wait until the case is settled before being paid, you should set this insurance credit limit as well as the patient's credit limit very high, because it may be 5 years before you get paid. Should you choose to give the patient a discount for any reason, such as financial hardship, you can enter that discount either as a percentage or a dollar amount, and then just select and fill in the number. This discount will appear automatically in the patient's transaction screen, and if you do not enter the discount on each visit, the system will prompt you to do so. You would also need to enter what transaction types this discount applies to, depending upon the state that you are in. In some states, you have the ability to provide a discount to patients only. In other states, you're not allowed to give a discount to the patient. And in some states, you are required to give the insurance company a discount if you give the discount to the patient. So you need to choose the option that conforms with your state laws, as well as your personal philosophy, and then make sure that it is entered here. The receipt box has 3 choices in it. Yes means every single time that you would enter a transaction in the patient's account, that it will automatically print a receipt. Most offices choose not to use this option. The second selection is for payment. In other words, whenever the patient gives you a payment, the system will automatically produce a receipt. The third option is what usually applies in most offices. No means that a receipt will not be printed automatically. However, it can still be printed on demand whenever you would want it. Regarding patient statements, again you have 3 choices. Always means under all circumstances, whether the patient has a zero balance, a credit balance, or owes your money, whether or not the patient has been in or not in for years, it will always print a statement for the patient. Most offices do not select this option. The never selection means that exactly that. There will never be a patient statement produced. This is appropriate in 2 situations. One are for those special friends and relatives that you never want to send a bill to. The second one is for those patients that you see that are covered under Medicaid, because under the Medicaid law, you are not allowed to bill the patient. For most patients, the selection is amount due. In other words, as long as there is a balance due, then the statement will be produced. If there is a zero balance or a credit balance, then there will never be a statement produced. Payment agreement can be set to either a percentage or a specific dollar amount. The default is 100% of the bill is the patient's responsibility. There are those instances in which you will work out a special arrangement with the patient so that they will pay something less than their full amount. As an example, think of the patient that comes in and says they have insurance. You call the insurance company, and the insurance is verified. A few days goes by, and neither you nor the patient is aware that the employer decided to cancel the insurance. By the time you find out that the patient no longer has insurance, it may be 2 or 3 months later, and the patient's bill may be rather substantial. The patient says, "Doc, I want to pay you, but I just can't do it in one lump sum." So you work out something for the patient to pay a smaller amount every month. It may be $50, it may be $75, it may be $125, it may be $250, whatever that amount is, or it could be a percentage of the balance, 5% or 10% each time. So you would enter that amount or percentage in this box, and then when the statements print out at the end of each month, the patient will receive a statement that shows your total balance is $2,792. You only need to pay us $75. The system is also designed with late notices. There are 3 different late notices to select from. And in another presentation, we will show you how to enter the templates for those late notices and then change them to your heart's content. The gentle late notice would be along the lines of, "Did you forget us? It's time to pay." The normal late notice is going to be a little bit stronger, saying something along the lines of, "Your bill is outstanding and past due. It is time to pay." The persistent one could be much stronger and would say something along the lines of, "We're getting ready to send this to collection. It is time for you to pay your bill." In your office, if you choose to, you have the option of charging patients late fees and penalties for late payments. Please note that if you are going to make use of this feature of the program, it is a legal requirement by federal statute that you have informed the patient in advance that if they do not pay on time, they will be charged a late fee. Our suggestion is that you have this form included in your new patient information packet so that when new patients come in, this will be something that they sign that they are aware of. You can set the late fee or past due penalty to either a percentage of the total bill or a specific dollar amount. You would then also set whatever the number is that applies. Once this is established, then you can set the monthly billing statements to automatically calculate this past due penalty whenever you tell the system to make the calculation. As far as the billing statements are concerned, you also have the option of using head of household information so that it could be addressed to the head of household as opposed to the spouse or the child. The box down below where it says negotiated payment commitment is an area where you can type in any specific message that you want to go only to this one patient. On this screen, you will also note that there is something about appointment reminders. This is for those offices that have purchased another program from another company called Appointment Call. All we did was create the interface that allows the Appointment Call program to search through our appointment scheduler and thereby call each patient and confirm their appointments for tomorrow or the next day. In the Occupation tab, you would be able to enter information about the patient's occupation. You would click on the box that they are employed, and then from your employer list, you would select the company that they are working for. You would then, in the description of occupation, enter what is their job title and possibly what are the duties of that job. You can also note whether or not this is full-time or part-time. If the patient is a student, you would just check on the student box and enter the name of the school that they are attending, and again whether or not they are full or part-time students. The responsible party applies to those offices that are using only the ChiroPad program, and this information is going to be backup for the insurance billing information about the patient. For those offices that are using ChiroOffice or the full ChiroSuite program, you have no need to fill in anything in this tab. The reason for that is that all of this information will be in the insurance policies area for the patient. The Representing Attorney tab allows you to enter information about who is the attorney that is representing this patient. You would simply click on the attorney, and then from this little square with the ellipsis, select the attorney that applies to this patient. The reason for making sure that the attorney's name is in the system is that you will, number one, be able to generate reports and letters that go directly to the attorney on this patient's behalf, and number two, so that you will be able to market yourself to the attorneys if that is what you choose to do. The tab for user-defined information can be used for any type of authorization or memo that you would like. So, for example, you can enter what HIPAA authorizations you have so that they're all in one place, and it is very easy for your staff to know what they can and cannot do regarding this patient. The area that you see to the right where it says Date, Time, and Edit 255 is something that we are experimenting with at this time, so these are not to be used. The final tab that is here is for scanned documents and images. You are able to scan things into the system, such as the patient's intake forms, reports from other doctors, police reports from car accidents, pictures, and many, many other things. Once all of this information has been completed, you must come back and click on the Save icon. If you do not click on Save, it is as if you never entered any of the information. Once the patient has been entered in the system, the patient will be accessible from each computer that is on the network. That is in ChiroPad and in ChiroOffice. To close the patient, you would simply click on the Close Patient icon, and we are finished with that particular patient. Thank you for watching this training video. Should you have additional questions that were not answered here, please contact support@chiropad.com or call us at 973-625-3716. We will do everything we can to make sure that you get the maximum benefit from using the ChiroSuite programs.